The Tampa Bay Buccaneers gave Dak Prescott too many easy plays on Monday night. The San Francisco 49ers defense won't be as forgiving this weekend. This is just one example of how easily offense came to the Cowboys against the Buccaneers. Backup tight end Jake Ferguson is going to gain 34 yards untouched. Ferguson is the interior tight end at the bottom of the screen, running the short route into the flat. The Cowboys are still very much a run-oriented offense. Play action, heavy sets, and tight formations are their bread and butter. To start this play, they're going to execute a hard play fake with Tony Pollard directed to the left side. Prescott turns his back to the defense completely and hides the ball while his tight ends leak into their routes outside. All of the Tampa Bay front 7 defenders bite hard in the play fake so that Ferguson is left unaccounted for, as is CeeDee Lamb on his crossing route. With the cornerbacks outside playing man coverage, Ferguson is unopposed after the catch. He runs downfield to gain 34 yards, but he probably should have reached the end zone. He was set up to have more success than he actually did. Dak's first 3 throws of the game were dropped. After that, the offense clicked into gear and the Buccaneers couldn't cope with his timing and precision. This first throw doesn't look like much, but it's a major sign of the quarterback's confidence right now. Mike McCarthy doesn't help his quarterback with route combinations very often. He runs a lot of isolated routes where the receivers don't work together to pull the coverage apart. This 4 verts concept fits into that category. Prescott's eyes go to the left slot when the ball is snapped. You can see clearly that the Buccaneers are playing zone coverage. Prescott's slot receiver, Dalton Schultz, is going to run his route with a slight bend on it after he clears the linebacker underneath. Prescott can see the safety over the top drifting deeper and wider, and he can see the linebacker undercutting Schultz underneath. This gives him a small window to hit, but the ball has to come out before the linebacker plants his foot to redirect back to the inside when he will then undercut the route. Prescott's timing is perfect, but now he has to hit the window by clearing the underneath linebacker without leading his receiver into the safety, or worse yet, overthrowing him completely so the safety can intercept the ball. The speed at which Prescott diagnoses the coverage and hits the throw makes it impossible for the defense to stop. When the Buccaneers sat in zone coverage, Prescott could pick it apart. When they blitzed, he knew where to go. That made him particularly effective on third downs. The Buccaneers are going to catch Prescott off guard on this 3rd and 4. Unlike the Miami Dolphins, who line up everyone on the line of scrimmage and threaten to cover zero blitz on third downs very often, the Buccaneers hide theirs by keeping one linebacker off the line of scrimmage. Prescott most likely thinks the defense is going to play cover 1 and rush 5 here based on the routes that are called. The right side is basically useless to him and the left side isn't set up to come open quickly as a cover 0 beater. So when the ball is snapped, he has to react and find a way to make it work. Prescott sees the linebacker come forward at the snap and immediately looks left. But the safety to that side is shooting forward too, so both of his receivers are pressed high upfield. He can't throw the ball in front of either of them, but he needs to get 4 yards for the first down, so he has to do something. Instead of leading his receiver into the safety, Prescott purposely places the ball slightly behind Tony Pollard to stop him in his route and protect him from the defender. Pollard winds up falling backwards to complete the catch, but he gets the first down. From the end zone angle, we can see the body shape and the minimal amount of space between Pollard and the defender. If Prescott is a split second late or slightly off target with this throw, his receiver is blown up and the Cowboys punt the ball away back to the Buccaneers offense. On this occasion, the Buccaneers disguise their blitz very well. You've got 4 obvious pass rushers with 2 linebackers pressing to the line of scrimmage to threaten them as well. They can do a lot of different things here. Maybe both linebackers rush forward at the snap, but maybe the left side linebacker plays man coverage on the running back so the right side linebacker can chase the quarterback. Or maybe it's the opposite and the linebacker runs with the slot receiver instead. Both defenders could play man coverage or both defenders could drop into zones. One could drop into a zone while the other blitzes as well. That could be either player in this scenario. Prescott has to figure out what's going to happen here. The alignment of the defense is really good. It doesn't give anything easy away. Part of that is the position of the safety at the bottom of the screen who can also do anything. In the end, that safety comes on a blitz and one of the linebackers drops into the zone while the other blitzes. But one of the 4 down linemen who were assumed to be blitzing also drops into coverage, so Prescott has to adjust. On the right side, the defense is given Michael Gallup single coverage with the full half of the field to work in. That's the weak spot that Prescott has to get to. With the linebacker and defensive lineman dropping from the left side or the centre, they won't be factors with Gallup if Prescott throws the ball on time. With the safety coming forward, a window is open for the throw to Gallup. Prescott beats the linebacker to the spot with the ball and the Cowboys get another first down. There's no book on Dak. There's no one way to play him that will rattle him. He reacts to blitzes and he's patient enough to take advantage of it if you give him time in the pocket. The Buccaneers found that out in this 3rd and 8. Because of the down and distance, the defense sets up in quarters coverage to prioritise a downfield throw. But the Cowboys aren't going to attack the first down directly. They're going to attack the underneath zones to get the first down indirectly. Antoine Winfield Jr. is number 31 in the slot. He sees T.Y. Hilton release from the outside into an inside breaking route, while CeeDee Lamb releases vertically from the inside to the outside. Since there is a receiver releasing vertically outside of him and the running back is to the opposite side of the field, he turns and runs with Lamb, assuming that's the best assignment to take. He's taken away from the underneath coverage. That leaves 2 linebackers in coverage against 2 wide receivers and a running back. The linebacker to the top of the screen is drawn to the running back in the flat after passing off the drag route going away from his zone. On the inside, the other linebacker picks up that drag route, so he is pulled towards the opposite sideline. T.Y. Hilton recognises this and sits down in the vacated space in the middle of the field. It's nice having a veteran receiver as your third or fourth option in your offense. Prescott understands he's throwing short of the first down line, but unlike Kirk Cousins at the end of the Vikings game, he also understands his receiver will have ample opportunity to get the first down after the catch. It's a really smart play from the quarterback who understood where the weakness of the coverage was and attacked it. Prescott is on a level where even when the defense gets everything right, he can still make a play and create a weakness in the coverage that otherwise didn't exist. His second touchdown to Dalton Schultz in this game showed that. Again, the Buccaneers play a version of quarters coverage, but this time they're in the red zone so they can fill out every space. The Cowboys have 5 receivers spread across the formation, so Prescott has plenty of options. T.Y. Hilton's route here is actually a shallow in-breaking route, but the coverage is going to redirect him, so he runs straight down the middle of the field towards the post from the slot. This is where Prescott looks at the snap. He wants either Hilton or the corner route to CeeDee Lamb, but Lamb's defender has outside leverage with safety help inside, so he's functionally double-teamed. The linebacker underneath is also playing to his safety health by jumping forward to take away Hilton's inside breaking route underneath aggressively. Prescott is forced to hold the ball because neither of those receivers are open or going to come open at any point in the play. He has nothing to his right, and there are no receivers working the middle of the field, so he has to bring his eyes all the way across to the opposite sideline while retreating in the pocket. He runs to the left flat, and before reaching the sideline, he twists his shoulders and leaves his feet to throw the ball across his body to Schultz in the end zone. His technique here is outstanding, and his command of the throw is incredible considering he's not set up to make it. It's a very dangerous throw that could very easily lead to an interception if he gets his technique wrong in any way. But there's one detail here that's missing. Schultz wasn't actually open in the design of this play. Prescott had to create that opening in the coverage for him. This is what the quarterback saw when he left the pocket. He has 2 options to this side, but they're covered by one defender who is equidistant between them. Prescott has to move that defender away from one of the receivers before he can set and throw the ball, so he has to get creative. As he's running towards the sideline to pull that defender towards his underneath receiver, he uses a pump fake to sell the back pylon throw to the safety covering across in the end zone. When that defender bites on the fake, Schultz can redirect inside of him to a pocket of space that otherwise didn't exist. It makes Prescott's throw more difficult, but if Schultz had stayed by the back pylon, the ball would have been undercut and intercepted anyway. This was the only way they were going to score, and it's definitely the only way he was going to get an uncontested catch score. If you're going to stop the Cowboys' passing game, you have to generate pressure on the quarterback with your front 4. The Buccaneers failed to do this, which allowed Prescott to create big plays over and over again. Schultz's first touchdown was a 22-yard score in the first quarter. CeeDee Lamb motions into a position wide to the right before the snap. The coverage shifts to show cover 3 zone. Prescott can see the gaping hole between the single high safety and the cornerback covering Lamb. The quarterback's goal is now to isolate the 2 defenders highlighted in yellow against Schultz so he can attack that area of the field. At the snap, he stares to his left to push the deep safety away from that area of the field. He's widening that gap between him and the other cornerback. As he's doing that, Schultz releases vertically into his route so that he clears the first linebacker before turning into the blind spot of the second defender. Because Schultz is attacking the blind spot of that defender, he can't turn with the tight end when he turns upfield. Lamb's route holds the cornerback outside, and Prescott has accounted for the safety, so there's nobody there to stop the touchdown. From the end zone angle, we can see Prescott had time and space in the pocket, and we can see just how wide open Schultz is when he catches the ball. The Seattle Seahawks used cover 3 forever, and everyone knew they were doing it, but they got consistent pass rush that the Buccaneers didn't get. The 49ers need to get that pass rush this weekend. Schultz is a key component of this offense. Stopping him will also be a priority for the 49ers defense. On this play, the Cowboys use motion again when they see a single high safety. This time the defense shows man coverage with a corner tracking the receiver across the screen. All of the action is going to take place in this area of the field, so the first thing Prescott does at the snap is hold the safety in the middle of the field. Let's highlight Schultz in green here. He released from an inline tight end position, so he draws the linebacker inside rather than the cornerback outside. The cornerback started the play in a deep outside position, so he was perfectly situated to stop the route that Schultz actually runs, a wheel route. The linebacker started the play shallow and to the inside, so he's in the worst position to stop the wheel route. He can be exposed in coverage very easily here. Prescott sees the linebackers back to him early in the play. He knows the wheel route is an option immediately since he held a deep safety. It's a one-on-one for Schultz where the defender can't look for the ball. The end zone angle reveals that the Buccaneers' defensive line actually wins this time. They get a defensive tackle into Prescott's face as he begins his throwing motion. Prescott stands strong and uses a high release point to clear the pass rusher. The coverage behind this pass rush is pretty good too, but like we said, the defender can't look at the ball. Prescott understood this leverage and put the ball in a spot away from the defender where Schultz could go and get it. The tight end double clutches at the catch point, but he brings it in before going to the ground for the big play. An abnormal number of the Cowboys' big plays come from Prescott audibling into his own play calls. He has always had a really high hit rate when changing plays at the line of scrimmage, especially when going in pursuit of shot plays downfield. This 26-yard gain to CeeDee Lamb is a result of Prescott seeing the blitz coming on 3rd and 4 and calling routes to attack it. He has Dalton Schultz on a shallow cross, while the other 3 receivers release vertically downfield. The Buccaneers are playing for the quick throw, so their safety cuts off Schultz's route underneath. He had just caught that big play down the left sideline, so they were definitely wary of him. That leaves Lamb running one-on-one against the safety into a wide open space, a clear matchup advantage for the offense. In the pocket, we can see Ezekiel Elliott executing a key block on the edge to buy enough time for the routes to develop downfield. Prescott also set that up. He created a wall in front of him by setting his protection properly that neutered the Buccaneers' pass rush. The only thing he did wrong on this play was put the ball slightly too far ahead of Lamb so that he falls down at the catch point instead of continuing downfield for a possible touchdown. Lamb would score a touchdown later in the game. The Buccaneers show the same look as they did for the 26-yard Lamb catch. Prescott shifts his tight end from the inside to the outside, so Lamb becomes the interior slot receiver of a trio. He's running a wheel route like Schultz did. His is going to go behind the two defenders outside who are collapsing the coverage to the inside with sharp in-breaking routes. You can see the shift in alignment and route combinations cause the Buccaneers to blow coverage so that Lamb is left uncovered, and Prescott has a simple toss for the score. At least 3 defenders here are confused by what the others are doing. Prescott ran 7 times last week. That was a season high for him. He doesn't break off big gains, but when he runs it's usually for an important gain. The 49ers will have to be disciplined at all times to respect his tread as a runner. Here the Cowboys put all 22 players in a condensed space. The Cowboys will commit to burning plays for short gains with forced running plays throughout the game, but the trade-off for them is it sets the defense up for big plays in different situations, because the defenders will lose concentration and over-focus on the running plays. On this play, Prescott turns from under centre and fakes the handoff to Ezekiel Elliott. He does this very well, staying tight to Elliott and hiding the ball in his right hand against his body while faking the handoff with his left hand. His form encourages the unblocked defender on the backside to commit to Elliott and crash down inside. When he does that, there's nobody left to stop Prescott from simply walking into the end zone. To be fair, this was also a pretty ballsy call from the Cowboys' offensive staff because it was on 4th down. The defense probably wasn't expecting them to be that aggressive in that scenario. It's not just against the run that the defense has to be disciplined though. The pass rush has to contain Prescott too. On this 3rd and 4, Prescott hits the top of his drop and there's nobody open downfield. From the end zone angle, we can see the left side edge rusher is into the body of Tyron Smith. He is fully focused on his bull rush to the inside and not concerned about protecting the edge. That clears the way for Prescott to sidestep out of the pocket and run for a 1st down, even though the defense shut down all of his options downfield. But maybe his most impressive rushing play from last week was one where it didn't go for a 1st down or a touchdown. It was this play where his receiver fell down at a critical moment in the play. Prescott correctly locates his curler out to beat the coverage, but his receiver CD Lamb falls down at the top of his route. This is at the same time that Prescott begins his throwing motion. If he throws the ball at this point, it is probably intercepted since Lamb will be beaten to it by the defender who is standing next to him at the top of his route. So instead, Prescott is able to pull the ball down halfway through his motion, change his mind, and escape through the running lane in front of him for a 6-yard gain. It avoids a major turnover, it avoids a negative play, and it keeps the offense on track to stay ahead of the down and distance. The 49ers are clearly a superior team to the Cowboys as a whole, but Prescott can be a great equalizer. On his day, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He has an elite all-round skill set that can make any play that's asked of him. But on the other side, the 49ers have a defense that they expect to play a lot better than the Buccaneers defense did last week. In general, the 49ers have one of the better defenses in the NFL, so they always have high expectations. The problem is figuring out how to best approach this quarterback. Ideally, your front four will win against their offensive line, but if that doesn't happen, you're forced to then blitz and try and get creative in coverages, and that's when Prescott can put up big numbers.